Good evening, everyone. This is Son from the UK. I'm a friend of Big Boss. Big Boss is obviously Dave. You all call him Dave. I call him Big Boss. I've known him for many years. We met through Twitter. Great guy, great mentor, great friend. I've learned a lot from Big Boss. I really have. I'm so happy and proud of him for doing this podcast, E.I.T.H.R. I really am. I know it's something he was talking about doing for a long time, and he's finally done it. But that's what I love about Big Boss. Whenever he says he's going to do something, he will do it. He's less talk and more action. So I'm really happy for him, and I'm really proud of him as well. It's very inspiring. I'm enjoying listening to the podcast as and when I can. I find it educational and I find it entertaining. It's just brilliant. It's such a great podcast to listen to. And I hope that everybody else who's listening to the podcast is also enjoying it. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet, I certainly do encourage you to start listening to it. You won't be disappointed. Because like I say, it's entertaining and it's also educational, because that's what you need. It's a good balance, which is what Big Boss has always been like. He's all about balance. So he's not always serious, but he's not always a joker. He just does both brilliantly. And he knows how to fuse them together as well. He knows sometimes you can make a bit of a joke about a situation and other times you can't. I just think he's brilliant at what he does, and I'm really happy for him, and I'm really excited to see how far this podcast will go. Good luck, Big Boss, and I certainly hope that all your viewers enjoy the show as much as I'm doing so.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D-Cal.
And happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone across the globe. It's your boy D-Cal here at the GNS HQ in Northern California for episode number 46 of the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. It is 3:30. Yes, 3:45 on the Pacific Standard Time. I was preoccupied doing some other stuff, so I'm running a little bit later than the 3:30 time. So if you tuned in and was expecting it and there was nothing there, I sincerely apologize for making you wait. But we have a good episode lined up, like we always do. So I want to give a shout out to everybody out there that kind of made it through the weekend. This weekend was very, very interesting. Football, for a football perspective, for American football, a lot of us had our hearts broken based on how our team performed. But hey, that's any given Sunday, as they say. I just want to go ahead and give a shout out to those who are recovering from that. Monday Night Football tonight. It's two mediocre teams playing. The New York Giants and this co-ed team in Dallas are playing. So, best of luck to both of those squads on Monday Night Football. It's prime time, so I probably won't be listening or watching it, but I might listen to it on the radio as background noise while I'm doing some other stuff. So that's pretty much what that is. Anyone who's new to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, E.I.T.H.R stands for the elephant in the room, where we kind of talk about topics that on everybody's brain. The beauty about my podcast is I give everything in a delivery to where it's easier to digest. There's no yelling, there's no screaming. There might be some profanity. I might say some colorful words, keep everything descriptive. But it's to kind of come from a neutral, balanced perspective. So it's not going to be one way more or one way or the other. And then, I may feed in my opinion on how I feel about the situation. might weigh in on that, but I try to explain it the best way I know how from a non-biased perspective. So that's the purpose of that. There's a sound effect of the elephant. So what happens is when that noise gets rang, whenever it gets rang, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Depends on my mood. Now let you know we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. Kind of catch it, right? So what I want to do is every episode I start off with giving some type of shout out to people, which I did for everyone who made it through the weekend. And I want to give the motivation, inspiration, words of encouragement to people. And I cannot express this enough for everybody, is when you have a goal in mind, ladies and gentlemen, write it down. Write it down. I've said this numerous times before, and I'm probably going to say it again in the future, because writing down your goal, regardless of how big it is, how small it is, it's a constant reminder of what needs to be done. Okay? It's a constant reminder of what needs to be done. If you have a large goal that you feel like it's too big to achieve, but as I learned in the real estate business, an elephant cannot be ate in one bite. So what you do is what we used to call a drill down. And what a drill down is you take your goal and you break it down to doable pieces, whether it's doable bi-weekly, or if it's doable by daily, if it's doable by hourly, whatever it is that you need to do to make it more achievable for you to obtain that goal. So if you have a amount of money that you're trying to save, you take that amount of money and you divide that by how many weeks it's going to take for you to do that. That way you know how much money you need to have per week to achieve that goal. If you need to do it by within that week, okay, how much money do I need to make per day to achieve that goal? And if you want to drill down even more, you can drill down to how many hours you need to work per day, per week to achieve that goal. A lot of us don't write goals down simply because we think it's too big and it's too much work. Some people don't write it down because it's just a lot going on in their mind and they feel that they cannot put it all down on paper. What I have realized from experience, however, is if you write the shit down, you realize what's really a priority. Not only that, but if you make the list of what needs to be done and you forget something, at least you checked off all the things that you did write down. So that's less for your brain to kind of stress and worry about. Okay. Some of us have busier brains than others, but that's a cool little trick to go ahead and make happen. So this past weekend was really, really interesting. A few things happened, and so I'm pretty sure we're going to get into that. Moving forward, if you guys want to reach out on social media, Instagram and Twitter, the handle is going to be the same as the E.I.T.H.R, T-H-E-E-I-T-H-R. Anybody who's looking at wanting to be a guest on the podcast, I need to get a new laptop because the laptop that I have is not compatible with the software that I need to be able to have guests. So the best way to do it is to reach me on Twitter, and then what we'll do a Spaces. I'll host a Spaces area. What that is kind of like a virtual call, if you will, but without the video. So it's just audio, and we can record it that way, and then I can just upload it to the podcast. So it won't be a live, but it will be a recorded version of what we say. That way, if you have a business or any ideas or anything you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to hit me up on the Twitter account, and we can reach out and we can go ahead and make it happen that way. Also, if you want to chat with me, you can go ahead and download the Spreaker app, Spreaker. Create a profile. Once you create that profile, you can then chat with me while I'm doing the podcast. Matter of fact, I just realized what you can do is when you download it, you can actually send me a text message even if the podcast is over with, and we can chat that way. So you can send me a message and I can respond to you. So there's a few different ways you can go ahead and get a hold of us at the E.I.T.H.R, Instagram, Twitter, Speaker app. Okay? Simple as that. So what we're going to do is when we get back from this little break, we're going to talk about the 3 topics that are kind of on everybody's brain. Well, one of them is on the brain. Another one you're probably going to be brand new to. The next one I'm going to talk about is something that everyone wonders but doesn't really know how to identify. And that's exactly what we're going to do here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast. So we're going to be back in about 15 seconds or so. Sit right there and enjoy yourself.
This is Max from Sacramento, and you are listening to Decal with the E.I.T.H.R podcast.
Okay, so one issue that has been surfacing a lot in social media recently, if you haven't heard about it, it's been quiet for about maybe a week or two, and now it's starting to get a little traction. But a lot of people feel like this topic that we're about to address on this podcast is way overdue on getting attention, and it hasn't been getting enough attention as it should. What I'm talking about is there's an American football player who's been retired since 2010. Here the story goes is there was a gentleman who was in charge of requesting the money from the assistants. So let me go ahead and just get the article right now so I can kind of just read you in parts what it is I'm talking about. So this is according to CNN. A former top state official in Mississippi pleaded guilty Thursday to state and federal charges in connection to an embezzlement scheme that auditors say misused millions of welfare dollars, including funneling funds into the project linked to prominent Mississippians like former NFL star Brett Favre. Then it goes on to say, officials from the U.S. Department of Justice and Hinds County District Attorney Office announced the one-time head of Mississippi Department of Human Services, John Davis, had pleaded guilty to 2 federal counts and 18 state counts. Okay, so basically what they're saying is there were over $70 million of federal welfare funds that were being misused or unaccounted for their spending. And they've been investigating this for about 8 months. And it says that there's a department, again, the U.S. Department of Justice in Hinds County, District Attorney, Mississippi Department of Human Resources, say that they were giving money to Davis, who was basically in charge of funneling, dispersing, sending money to 2 nonprofits, the Mississippi Community Education Center and the Family Resource Center of North Mississippi. of the $98 million, $94 million was questioned, meaning it was either definitely misspent or auditors were unable to determine whether it was legally spent. Okay, so Davis apparently got this money, sent it to these two companies to quote unquote disperse. And the story goes that Favre allegedly, apparently, supposedly, was using the funds that were given to him, about $5 million worth, to build apparently a volleyball facility for University of Southern Mississippi, where it's his alma mater, and his daughter plays sports there. So it was kind of like one of those give backs to where he came from, if you will. And allegedly he was getting paid $1 million in addition. There's some conversation that there was a text message between he and another official. And I guess the text message is public. And within this text message, Favre is accused of saying or asking if there's any way that the funds would be traced back to him. And the former representative, she tells Favre, no, there's no way the funds get traced back to you. And again, this is all in text message. So basically what you have is a volume of welfare fraud, state and federal. Now, there's people who would say, that's no big deal. That's not a problem. Who cares? Fraud happens all the time. First of all, we shouldn't be so numb to the fact that this happens all the time. That in itself should tell us, wait a minute, we have a bigger problem if this is something that's happening continuously. But one of the biggest issues that people are having is, why is this fraudulent case of funds, which is federal and state, violation of one of the four states in our country by an ex-Hall of Fame athlete who is believed to be a multi-millionaire, is taking funds that were supposed to be delegated to the poor? Why is this not getting any more coverage? There's plenty of speculation on why it's not getting any more coverage. Your guess is as good as mine. But it does seem very, very strange that other athletes, such as Jameis Winston, and he played in college at Florida State, he got national attention for stealing crab legs. And this was his, I believe, his senior year, or at least his final year at Florida State, before he got drafted in the NFL. This was all over the place. It was huge coverage, obviously, with the Deshaun Watson situation, with the 30-plus sexual assault allegations against him, which are still hovering over his head while he serves a suspension in the NFL. It's got significantly less attention than Michael Vick, if you remember him, NFL quarterback, who was charged with funding, knowing where, being in charge of a dogfighting ring, which apparently is a big deal in the South. Anyway, Vick did not participate directly, but he gave them the home, the shelter, the grounds to have these acts happen. All these situations got significantly more time. Let's not even talk about the Colin Kaepernick social injustice. Okay, now for those who want to say whatever the more I said Kaepernick's stance was more than about what was broadcasted on the news. It was not just about social injustice for people of color, but it was also about inequality in the workplace for women. And it was also for the failed treatment of military, retired military soldiers who come home from war. But unfortunately, the social injustice is the hot button that a lot of people ran with. All these things tend to get more attention than Brett Favre. And a lot of people want to know why. And that's a very good question. why is it that the story is only coming out maybe a week or two, quote unquote, after it surfaced on social media? And social media kind of pushed that engine to get the story to get more traction, which kind of got everybody saying, okay, well, we can't hide it because it's out there. Why do you think, in your opinion, and there's some people who feel that, all these other instances that I mentioned are not even relatable. Some people feel that these situations are not even comparable. You can't compare one to the other because one's apples, one's oranges, right? And one's fruit, one's automobile. You can't do that. But in some cases, it doesn't negate the fact that why does this have hush written all over it, but everything else was highly exposed? What is your take? What is your opinion? What do you think? What do you believe? Do you even give a shit? I personally think it's kind of unfair, maybe a little bit of favoritism. What say you?
My name is Heather from San Francisco, and I'm listening to D.Cal on his E.I.T.H.R podcast.
Hey, this your girl Key, and I'm calling from Compton, and you listening to E.I.T.H.R podcast with D.Cal.
So it's very interesting when it comes to media in general, right? Because as I told somebody about a week ago, listen, if they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. So if two people do the same exact thing, but they like you more, or you're more marketable, or you're more of an attraction, things are going to favor your way. And if they like you less, so you're not known, things are obviously going to go not your way. And I think with the Brett Favre situation, because it's Mississippi and it's Brett Favre, I think a lot of people kind of tried to sweep it under the rug, but people noticed. And now it's kind of one of those scenarios where, oh shit, what do we do? So, what's your opinion on that? Next thing I want to talk about in the podcast here, this is going to be a good one. So there's a story that's out right now, a commercial. The teacher brought this up to my attention because she saw a commercial this morning in Walmart, good old Wally World, right? They severed their partnership with DoorDash when it comes to doing deliveries, whether DoorDash separated with them or they separated with DoorDash, either way it goes. But what she was telling me is Walmart is going to be offering their own type of delivery service, which makes sense, and the service is called Spark. Spark is basically similar to DoorDash, but it's strictly Walmart orders. I don't know if Spark drivers are going to be doing this, or if it's going to be paid Walmart employees, hopefully with an extra incentive, but they're going to be delivering groceries to people's houses, which is great because that's what the delivery services are all about anyway, right? Well, the catch to this is going to be the driver is not only going to be delivering the groceries to your home, but they will have the option, the customer, to have the driver put the groceries away for you. So you now will have an option whether you want the person to not only bring your groceries to your home, put your groceries in your kitchen, or put them in areas of your home. How do you feel about that as a potential customer? Are you cool with that? Is that something that you're like, you know what? That's a pretty cool idea. That's neat. I like that. That means you really ain't got to do nothing. You literally order from your phone. Wait for the person to bring you your groceries from Walmart. Let them in your house and tell them, set the bags over here, set the bags over there. Take this out, put it over here. And then they can leave. Now, according to what I was told, there's no expectation for type of tip. There's no expectation for type of compensation. And there's not going to be any markup to the customer. I think it's a convenience, but personally, I think that's more work you're having a person do for the same compensation. See, I've always grew up in retail where businesses always have to find out how to do more with less. And if I can somehow, some way get you to do more, and if I'm paying you more, it's more cost effective for the business, right? And I don't know exactly how it's going to be set up because I'm not a delivery person for Walmart, but I would think in my mind it's going to play out where you pull up to somebody's house, you still have to wait for them to open the door. They might not even be home. And there's some people who forget they even made a grocery order because you might schedule it for a day and forgot that you scheduled it for today at 4 o'clock. But assuming that the person is home, they let you in the house. What if there's animals in the home? What if you're allergic to something inside the house? What if it's a situation where you don't feel safe? Do you violate something? Again, it's a speculation. It's just me saying, what if you're female and you happen to go to a guy's house and obviously these rules are creepy? What if you're a guy and you go to somebody's home and she doesn't make you feel comfortable? What if you go to somebody's home and they live in an unsafe neighborhood? And I'm not talking about high crime, because sometimes there's unsafe neighborhoods and well-kept, established manicure getting you to be sued, right? Sometimes you have those houses, we don't feel safe. You can totally make a many kind of scenario what you want to say. I mean, there's really scenarios too, every person wants that. Scenarios on the scenario. In a situation where you make up something that doesn't exist, you can create a voice. That's what happens. But I'm serious. Just curious how this is going to make a person does are they penalized? Are they going to get just curious. What say you? Again, okay with that? Say you feel about that? How do you feel? Instagram, Instagram. The next thing I'm going to talk about is youth understanding between elders. Listen, I was 14, 15, 16 years old and everything. if you have someone who is 40, 50, 60 years old, you have to understand these people were your age before you were born. And even though life might be different for you than it was for them, for its technology and availability for certain things, people never deviate from the script. Once you read people and understand certain things, you have a better grasp on it. I think, feel, and believe what young folks need to do is understand, again, life is like a movie. So when someone's explaining a scene to you, that doesn't mean if you don't do this step, then they won't make that move. It's not like that. It's more of a cautious, aware, this could possibly happen. And instead of thinking they're just tripping, be aware of it. Because you can go to a house party and be told, man, if you go to this party, such and such is going to happen, blah, 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 and this is this and that, right? And you go to the house party and none of those things take place, you think, oh, they just tripping. But what you don't understand, it might not be the people at that party. It might be somebody who is coming somewhere else to that party, if that makes any sense. So sometimes it's not exactly what's in front of you. As my brother would say, in a fight, it isn't the punch that you see that knocks you out. It's the one you don't see that gets you. So you have to at least keep in mind that when you're being explained something to a peer, they're not being paranoid. They're not tripping. You're just not understanding what's being explained to you. And it's not just with youth and adults. I mean, it's with people with any type of issue, like relationship problems, friendship, issues at work, right? You come across some type of a hardship at your job, and you talk to somebody who may not have worked at your job before, but they may have had a similar situation before, similar to yours. May not be the exact same steps. So take heed, because they might be talking about something that's a roundabout way, exactly what you're going through. And because you're trying to funnel them out, you're not really grasping the message. And you can be saving yourself a whole hell of a lot of heartbreak, right? So just try to envision that a little bit. You know, when you're talking to somebody, man, it's very, very crucial. So, listen, I appreciate you guys giving the time for the podcast. Much appreciated. I want to say, my friend Angel, Three Boys' mom. Yeah, I was doing the Spaces Twitter Spaces with her on an episode last week, and we were kind of talking about being comfortable in your own skin. And her mother passed away this morning, and I just want to, kind of remind people, man, you fucking never know. And I understand we're all busy. We all got stuff going on, and we're all trying to put out fires and, take care of ourselves. I get it. But you just never know what the situation might be with somebody. So do whatever you guys got to do, man, to make sure you get shit right with someone. Because the last conversation you ever had with them will be the last conversation you will ever have with them. Right? People don't necessarily remember what it is that you say. They may not remember exactly what it is that you do, but they will remember exactly how the fuck you make them feel. So I'm not saying go around and kumbaya and hug everybody, but what I am saying is, listen, if the shit's petty, drop it. Because the last thing you want is the guilt on your shoulders of, man, the last thing we got into was because this person didn't make the bed. Right? That's the last conversation we had was a bed being made. Or you left the toilet seat up. Right? A comment or a reaction or a response on social media. A text message that could have easily been explained if it was just addressed. And if you're the kind of person that is constantly being avoided because of your energy, maybe, just maybe, it's not everybody else that has the problem. Maybe, just maybe, you might need to do some soul searching for yourself, right? Because people are trying to stay away from you for a reason or avoid you for a reason. You possibly might need to just ask yourself, what is it, the common denominator in all the problems I've had with people? And if everyone is saying the exact same thing, am I picking wrong friends? Probably not. It's probably me, right? A bee does not waste its time explaining to the fly why it prefers honey to shit. It just doesn't. So a person is avoiding you. Why are they avoiding you? Again, if you're the kind of person that don't care about people, okay, that's another situation, that's another subject, it's another topic, it's another day. But man, if you know somebody and you ain't talked to them in a while, man, just reach out, shoot a text, say, hey, listen, I know you're busy, I'm busy, we grinded, you grinded, we at it. Just want to holler at you real quick, and just all's well. You know, see you when I see you, talk to you when I talk to you. You know, we need to link up soon. Just that rekindle, because everyone gets caught up in the days that you never know, man. It's one of those, you mean to call somebody, but you get so caught up and time just flies by. The next thing you know, it's time to go to sleep. And if there's 5 days of that in your week, your 1 to 2 days that you have to relax may not line up with theirs. A simple text, a simple chat. My high school reunion Facebook group, I put up this post. I was like, hey man, we should do like a Zoom thing, ever so often in the class, and whoever's online gets online, just to put faces with voices, man, just to kind of rekindle. I call it passing period, because if you remember in high school, you got passing period. So whenever you went from period 1 to period 2, period 4 to period 5, you see everyone within passing up from one class to another, and you had a quick social live with each other, and that was it. Sometimes maybe it's a 5-minute, I don't care your hair's a mess, I don't care in your PJs, I don't care you got your morning breath. Put your hair in a face wash pony, put on your robe, get your coffee, and zoom from the neck up. You know what I'm saying? Just be like, yo, I'm on here, just want to say good morning to everybody, what's good with everybody. If the kids are running around, guess what? We all went to high school together, right? Some of y'all have friends you know since childhood. If you have kids, you have kids. Let your kids see your friend, right? That way, at least you have some kind of social, something, right? And if you're a homebody like I am, hell, you and your girlfriends have a girls' night out at home night, right? Where somebody sets up the Zoom or the FaceTime or the Duo or whatever it is. Y'all put some clothes on if you want to, or you can just put on your leggings and sweatshirt, pour your glasses of wine, and your girl nighting while at home via video chat. If, for whatever reason, you are unable to go out in person with one another because of distance, because of time zone, because of work schedule. Listen, man, I've always said to myself that being an adult is no different than being a teenager. It's just the responsibility is on your own. And I feel that we all definitely need to make bigger efforts to talk to people, man, because the last thing you want to do is have a gap of X amount of days, weeks, months, or years. And they come to find out the last time you talk to that person, that was their last day on this earth. And you've been so busy that you have this guilt in your system, even though it's not your fault. At least reach out to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Somebody out there right now might need somebody to talk to. And if you guys go way back like that, just a friendly face can probably change somebody's mood. Hell, you might help somebody's anxiety or somebody's depression. You never know. Listen, it's your boy D.K.L. the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Follow me on social media. Twitter, Instagram, THEEITHR, the elephant in the room. For any episodes you may have missed, you can check us out on the YouTube. Just search for the GNS Inc. Subscribe to the page. And you can check out the previous 45, now 46 episodes once this one is uploaded. Greatly appreciate it. You guys be good. Hope all is well. Take care. And we will reach back out to you this coming Wednesday. Y'all be good.
What up, though? This is La Cabrona Más Chingona from Kansas City, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with my boy, D.Cal.
This is Henry from New York, and I listen to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with my homie, D.Cal.